Okay, so my book of the month this month is Great by Choice. This is an absolutely fabulous book by Jim Collins. I'm a big fan of Jim Collins' books. He's written Good to Great, Why the Mighty Fall, and a number of other great business books. I think this is Jim's best business book yet. And I think that it really helps us see that we do have choices that we make as business people about how our business operates. And to me, this has got a lot of very practical things to stay focused on. One of the concepts in the book that he talks about is the great companies, the people that really do well no matter what's going on in the marketplace, are focused on what he calls the 20-mile march. And what that is getting little steps of progress made every day. Not thinking about, our end destination as much as in the next week, I need to do these things to keep moving forward. And if we stay focused on small doable steps in the short term, we tend to get a lot better results. And so I really want you to be committed to making tangible steps moving forward. That makes such a huge difference in your ability to make sure that you're making progress. But we're going to talk about the 3 keys to success in sales. And I really believe that the 3 keys to success in sales are so important. And this is one of the things that I found, it's basic, it's simple, but it makes a huge difference if you will keep these things in mind as we go forward. So just to get to the key elements, the 3 keys to success in sales are that you as a realtor, first of all, have a superior value proposition. And if you have a superior value proposition, it makes a huge difference in your ability to move forward. And this is so critically important. I mean, if you keep in mind that what you do as a realtor has got to differentiate yourself, it will make a big difference. So I want you to think about what your value proposition is today. Can you clearly articulate what differentiates your services from other agents? And this is one of the things that I think a lot of agents lose sight of. They don't think about the fact that there are other realtors, other competitors are out there, and the reality is that we've always got to be differentiating ourselves as real estate professionals from all the other agents out there. And your value proposition is a clear articulation of that. Now, if you want to sell well, you've got to have something people value enough to buy. And so the question is, I want you to really write down your value proposition and ask yourself, okay, is that enough of a value proposition to attract my particular clients? This is why it's so important, and one of the easiest ways to create a great value proposition is to focus on one of those niches that we talked about at the seminar, because it gives you that clear point of differentiation. That alone is a huge advantage in the marketplace. So I want you to think about it. What is it that you are truly doing that differentiates yourself? And make sure that you know it's something that your clients value, not something that you think is important. So many agents say, well, Greg, my point of differentiation is how much I know. Well, the problem is the clients don't know how much you know. And so you've got to be able to clearly articulate that quickly and effectively to your clients. Now, at the seminar, I talk about the fact that what you want to look for is, first of all, your natural talents. What are you able as an agent to be the very best at? What are your natural skills, your personality, your knowledge, whatever that is? Then what are you passionate about in your life? What gets you excited? And then an understanding of the economics of that particular segment of the marketplace. And what you're looking for is that overlap between these 3 areas. And if you find a segment of the marketplace that you can build your point of differentiation, your value proposition in, this is where you can truly make yourself stand out. You get so much bigger bang for the dollar when you are focused in that sort of sweet spot between these 3 elements, because your natural talents are capitalized on. your natural enthusiasm, passion about what it is that you're doing, and you have an economic model that actually works, that says there's enough business in this segment for me to make money on. And that's what I really want you to focus on. Make sure that your point of differentiation, your value proposition, is in that area of overlap. Don't look at things, and this is the big mistake I see agents make over and over again. They look for something, they say, well, gosh, there's economic opportunity. I really don't like that particular type of property. I don't like those people. I'm not really, good at social farming. I'm not good at being part of the country club, but I'm going to do it because, gosh, I think there's economic opportunity there. And those are the agents that always get themselves into trouble. They try and join a group not because, gosh, I really like this group, but they join it because they think they can get leads. The problem is, unless you have a natural passion for it, it just doesn't ever work. And this sort of reminds me of the law of sowing and reaping. And if you've been on my calls for years, you know that this is one of my favorite stories because it reminds us of the key principles of really doing well. And I just want to go through some of the key elements of the law of sowing and reaping because it reminds me that we've got to have our value proposition clear. Now, the law of sowing and reaping is very simple. Whatever you sow, you reap. Now, it seems like we all understand that, but the first time I heard it, I said, well, I'm just not reaping that well. And Jim helped me realize that it was a problem with what I'd done in the past. He said, Greg, what you got to think about it is that whatever you're currently reaping is a reflection of what you've sown in the past. And at first, I don't quite think I really understood this, that what I've done has set up my success going forward. But this is so important, and you've got to think, what am I planning today to reap next week, next month? This is really starting to think like that marketer that makes a huge difference because you're thinking forward, not just focusing on what's going on today. Now, if we study the parable of the sower, it says the story of the sower says he got up early. And I think that the reality is that, especially in today's marketplace, we've got to go to work. There's no way to do real estate without actually working. You've got to put it out there and give it 100% of your effort. Then it says the sower took excellent seed. And I want you to realize this is your value proposition. This is your marketing story. This is what separates you out. This is the story you're going to tell in all of your marketing, on your brochure and your website. And this is creating the quality of the seeds you're planting. And you can know that you're doing the right planting when you're making that emotional connection. When your story authentically rings true to your clients. And so really think about the impact of your story and be willing to put it out there. Without a great story, without great seed to plant, the chances of really doing exceptionally well, of having a great harvest, go down significantly. So this is where I want you to think about your story and be willing to put yourself out there. I know this feels uncomfortable as so many agents, to put themselves out on the line, to tell their story that makes them vulnerable. But let me tell you, this is where, when I go to your website, when I go to your brochure, when I read your marketing materials, the more emotional connection you have, the better off you are. And then making sure that that's consistent across everything you do. So whether I go to your Facebook page, wherever it is, I'm seeing your story, I'm making that emotional connection. Even across in your YouTube videos, this is absolutely critical. Make that emotional connection. When you start to do that, you start to build that brand, that identity. And now, even if I see one of your little ads for your special report from the Gateway, let me tell you, the impact is so much greater. So I want you to make sure that you have your value proposition clearly articulated, repeated in all your marketing. You're making that emotional connection. The second key to success in sales is once you've got superior story to tell, is simple. You got to talk to lots of people every day. And I think that this is something that we often forget, but the reality is that you've got to get people out there. You've got to get people to find out about who you are. So ask yourself, how many people are you telling about your real estate services every day? And I really want you to start tracking this so that you know, gosh, every day, here's how many people are finding out about my message. Keep a list of this. If you're taking floor, keep a track. Took 4 hours of floor, talked to 4 people about their real estate services, went to an open house, had 6 people through, talked to 2 legitimate clients. Now go through all the activities you're doing, look at all your ads, say I sent out X number of power cards with just listed as sold messages. I want you to keep track of the total number of exposures your message is getting out to your clients. Because this is sort of fundamental to being able to track your success. I talk to so many agents and the chances of them doing well are very limited because they just aren't talking to a lot of people. Now, it starts by just tracking all your numbers. And now you can ask yourself, am I planting enough seeds every day to really make a difference in my real estate career? Now, if you're not getting the harvest that you want, you realize you've got to just plant more seeds. It's that simple. I mean, this is not complicated. Now, going back to the parable of the sower, the story says that when the sower started to plant, some of the seed fell on hard, rocky ground. And before the seed even had a chance to take root and grow, the birds swooped in and ate the seeds. And isn't this the way that it goes? We start getting our marketing story out there. We send out some just listed, just sold. We send out our brochure and somebody calls us and says, gosh, you know, we don't care about your junk mail. Don't send us anything else. We get negativity. And I want you to be prepared for that. You start running some ads, you start running a YouTube video, and you're really excited about your first YouTube video of a listing. And some agent says, well, gosh, you missed this feature, you did that. Be prepared for the negative influences. In fact, they shouldn't even faze you. This is part of the process. So that anything you're doing, realize that if you're doing anything that's going in the right direction, somebody's going to put it down. Somebody's going to be negative about it. It's just the way it goes. And so I want you to be consistent. Now, the parable of the sower says that the sower was so wise, he kept on planting. And next, some of the seed fell in shallow soil. And the seed started to grow, but on the first hot day, they withered and died. Now, this is so true. You're going to have some people that seem to respond to your marketing, that respond to your story. But now, they're going to seem like, gosh, they're a legitimate buyer or seller. But now they're going to talk to a negative friend. They're going to say, well, gosh, the timing isn't right, this isn't right. And what happens is that because they aren't truly quality buyers and sellers, they're going to give you negative feedback. And what happens is that it's that inner voice of self-doubt that starts to worry on us. We have somebody that we think is going to be good, that we think is going to buy, and then they sort of flake out on us. They don't return our phone calls. And we think, gosh, am I good enough? Am I doing enough? Is my story good enough? And what I want you to do is realize that when you have that inner voice of self-doubt, it stops you from planting more seeds, from telling the story. And you start second-guessing yourself. And unfortunately, that always leads to a negative cycle because it decreases your activity. So be prepared for the negative Nellies, the people that seem like they're going to be good clients and then fall off. And realize that that's part of the process. That's part of the sales cycle. Don't get down on yourself. Don't be negative about yourself. Then, the story says, finally, some of the seed fell on fertile ground. and the sower watered and nurtured the seeds all summer. But then something amazing happened. In fertile ground, quality buyers and sellers out there, some of the people produced 30 bushels, some produced 60, some produced 90. Now, this is always the way it works. The problem is we will say, well, how do I just get to the 90 people? We all heard the 80-20 rule and say, well, I just want to focus on the top 20%. The problem is we don't know who the top 20% are unless we fertilize, take care of everybody. And then realize that even good clients, some of them are going to do business with you. They're going to do one transaction with you and may not do another. Some are going to do a transaction every 3-5 years from you religiously, but they'll never give you a referral. Some people are going to give you referrals consistently, do business with you over and over again. Those are those ideal 90 bushel people. But understand, you want to make sure that you're doing everything, and don't put some people down. Don't try and ignore them. Say, gosh, this is the way it works. There is good people, good value in all of them, and we've got to do the things that are going to give us great success. And if we fertilize, take care of, and tell our story consistently to everybody, we're sowing our story, we will produce truly outstanding results. And this is where you're going to get your biggest chance to win. Now, I do want to give you a couple of laws about, or a couple of insights into the law of sowing and reaping. Remember that the law of sowing and reaping is both positive and negative. It works both ways. So if you sow positive things, you're going to reap positive. But if you sow negativity, self-doubt, you're going to reap self-doubt. And this is so important for you to remember. So if you sow badly, you're going to reap badly. And yet, so many agents forget about the law, and they're busy complaining about the marketplace, the government, their office policies, the weather. And when they're complaining, focusing on all these external things, what they do is they stop the core marketing activities. They stop doing things. They stop calling past clients. They stop holding open houses. Stop sending out their brochures. Stop doing YouTube videos. Stop doing the things that in the long run are going to generate their value. So don't worry about the marketplace, the conditions, anything else. Say, you know what? Let me be focused on making sure that I've got to keep sowing positive seed consistently over time. I'm getting my story out there over and over again. Now, this is so critical to remember. Then remember that you also do not reap what you sow. The reality is that when you plant a kernel of corn, you plant the corn not to get a kernel back, but you get ears back. You get a huge return. You get a lot more corn, a lot more wheat than you actually plant. So the reality is you plant opportunities out there as a real estate professional, you're going to get a lot more back. Now, again, this works in both positive and negative. If you plant negativity, frustration, disappointment, you're going to reap a whirlwind of negativity. But if you plant positive, caring activity, you have a great story to tell. The return on your investment in building your business, in building your brand, will reap unbelievably large benefits. So remember that you're going to get a lot more than what you put in. That's why you need to make sure that you're giving as much as you possibly can. Now, here's the good news. There are also many ways to sow and reap. In real estate, there are so many different ways to do well. I mean, I want you to think about your personality, your skills, and say, gosh, what can I do that I'm excited about day in and day out? And then go out there and do it. Don't be looking for some magic answer based on some other agent. Look internally for yourself, because there are so many ways to succeed. I see so many agents. And when they trust their own internal value proposition, it works well for them. So take the things that we're talking about and say, gosh, which ones appeal to me the most? Yes, I would love it for you to do them all. But the reality is, if you get started on something and you say, gosh, this is what works for me, it will work for you because that's who you are. So understand, you want to trust who you are, your own personality, because there's so many ways to succeed in this business. Now, here's the good news as well. Anyone can sow, so anyone can reap. And this is really so exciting when you think about it. You don't have to be brilliant or smart or anything. The reality is, if you go out there and you plant good opportunity, you tell your story over and over again, you are going to reap lots of great clients. You're going to have an impact on people's lives. And if you will just go out there, tell your story, you'll find a way to succeed, to be happy, thrive in real estate, just because you're doing that. Now, I also want you to make sure that as you think about the law of sowing and reaping, you learn to harvest without complaint when the amounts are small, and to harvest without apology when the amounts are large. Because when you're doing incredibly well, it's because of the work you put in, it's because of the activity. And if you're not doing well, it's because of, gosh, in the past, I didn't get my story out there, I didn't do the things. So learn to harvest without complaint and learn to reap. And I will tell you, I am so excited about the years ahead. I really think 2012 is going to be a year we're going to see real estate come back in a significant way. And over the next 2 or 3 years, the people that set up the future 2 or 3 years this year are going to be able to reap incredibly well. So the next thing that really is a key to success in sales, once you have a superior value proposition, you're talking to lots of people every day, you're getting your marketing out there, you're sowing consistently. The next thing I want you to focus on as a realtor is simply being really nice. Now, this sounds incredibly simplistic, but what I found is that this is really hard to do. We all understand we need to be nice to our clients, but what I found is the key to being nice to your clients, even in difficult, stressful situations, is practicing being nice to everyone we meet. That means our fellow agents, nice to the people that serve you, nice to those who report to you. You even have to be nice to your broker, even if they have some policies you don't agree with. The reality is that we as human beings get better practicing being nice, especially in difficult situations. And I really want you to think about this. I'm amazed at how many people sort of forget this. The next time you're in a restaurant and maybe the waiter, waitress is not giving you great service, say, gosh, can I be nice enough to inspire them to provide great service? And I will tell you, I've made this a game, a challenge, and it's hard, and sometimes you just want to get frustrated. And I am still not perfect at this, but I found the more I practice being nice to people, the easier it is to be nice in difficult situations. And it starts with the simple things. So you've got to practice even being nice when you don't feel like it, especially when the other person does not deserve that you're nice to them. And this is one of the important things. Jim had to work on me a long time on this. He said, think about what Gandhi said. Gandhi said, learning how to meet anger, hatred, bigotry with love and tolerance is the only way to end the cycles of war and hate. And so the next time you get bad service, you have a difficult agent on the other end. The question is, can you learn to be nice to them? If you have a difficult client, you have some place in there. If you can learn to be nice, what I found is that this is the ultimate payoff that generates the long-term referral repeat business. And the great thing about it is this. When you are nice, even in the face of challenge, difficulties, of people that don't deserve that you are nice to them, your referral, repeat business goes through the roof. And most importantly, you'll live your life filled without guilt, regret. I found that every time I'm mean to somebody, it always comes back to bug me. It's like I wasn't the person I wanted to be. Whether it's my kids, my spouse, the people I work with. And so what I want you to do is really work on saying, how do I make sure that no matter what is going on in my life, I am going to be as nice as I possibly can. And I know this is hard, but let me tell you, it is so critically important. Now, I just want to go through a couple of things. We've talked about the 3 keys to success in sale. Have a superior value proposition. Make sure that you're getting your message out there. Talk to lots of people every day and be real nice. Now, these are not super hard concepts, but they're surprisingly hard to do. Because most of us don't take the time to really make sure we've got a great value proposition. Then we aren't looking at, how do I get my message out there? How am I making sure that I'm getting exposures every day so that I look at the end of the month and I get to the month and I say, gosh, I have lots of people that I'm being talked to. So I want you to think about it. First of all, I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to launch a poll here online, and the poll is, how would you rate the quality of your value proposition today? And I just want to get a feel for you. And if you see this online, just answer this. And I see a variety of people filling this out, so take a minute here and really think about this. Just think about your value proposition. How good is it? All right, I see about half of you have voted. I'm just going to give you another quick minute. I see a number of you voting as this process goes. All right, so I'm going to close the poll here and share the results. And notice that the vast majority have you an average value proposition. So I want you to start here working on making sure that it gets to at least a great proposition. And I want it to be so good it will knock your socks off great. Because the difference in the results as you keep moving up this, making your value proposition better and better, makes a huge difference in your ability to get out there. The next thing I want you to do is think about, how many people are you currently getting your marketing message to each and every month? And just take a look at it here. And so many agents say, gosh, I really want to do well. I want to do 5, 10, 20 transactions a month. But now if you just take a look at the numbers, say, gosh, if there's a 5% turnover rate, I've got to get X number of people to even hear my message to have a shot. Now, if we look at a 5% turnover rate per year, to divide that down by month, we have to divide that 5% by 12. And then use that number to say, gosh, this is how many people I need to get to each month to get my marketing message out there. And I will tell you, if you're only getting your marketing message out there to 100 people or less a month, your chances of really going to the next level are so slim. So I really want you to think about this. So notice here, we see that the vast majority of you are getting less than 100 exposures a month. For those of you doing 100 to 499, say, how do I get it to the next level? And then I love those of you that are doing 2,000 or more a month. Your chances for success, and I'm sure the payoff, is so much better for you because you're moving it to that next level. This makes such a big difference for you overall. So, first of all, I want to ask you, has what I've talked about here today made sense to you? And I just want to get a quick feedback, because I want you to make sure that you're taking this and being able to use it. And I see that the vast majority of you are saying, yes, this does make sense to you. So as we wrap up today, I just want to find out how valuable this was today. And I'd love to get your feedback about whether this was helpful in giving you a little shot going forward, thinking about what you need to be doing each and every day. So I really appreciate your feedback, your thoughts in what we're doing, because I want to make sure that we're moving forward each and every call to make sure this is making a difference for you going forward. I'd also like to open it up to questions. If you would have a question here, type it into the box and I would be happy to answer it. So what I want to do is open it up, type it into your question box, or open it up to questions on the phone call. So questions from anybody. So first of all, I muted it for a little while, but I tried to unmute it, so can somebody talk? Hello? All right, there we are. So I didn't quite get that. All right, so questions about anything we've talked about here today? So questions. I can. So did you have a question? It sounds like somebody's got a conversation going on in a conference room or something. So questions about anything? All right. So I hear sort of a conversation going on there, but I would love to have any questions about anything. If anybody's got any specific questions, I would be love to answer them. All right. Well, I think what you have to do is track each one of those. And what you have to do is say, okay, for each category, I'm exposing my message out, and what you want to do is track a ratio of results. So if I hold an open house and I have 50 people walk through my open house, that's going to lead to one listing and one sale. So you sort of understand the ratios, the numbers. If you're advertising on Zillow, for every dollar you spend, how many leads is that generating? What's the return on investment? And what you want to do is start looking at your total exposures, the total return on investment, and the more you track that, the better off you're going to be. Because now you can move your dollars to where they're getting the biggest return. And I will tell you that if you're, paying to be on Zillow and some of these Realtor.com, I personally believe that you'll get a significantly higher return on investment by doing Facebook advertising or Google AdWords. The return on investment on those is so much higher. And so I really want you to think, how can I make sure that I'm maximizing it? But I want you to track everything you're doing so that you can, at the end of each month, look and say, here's the total number of exposures I got my marketing message out there. Here's the return on investment. Where can I make the biggest difference going forward? Where can I get more of my messages out there so I'm planting the seed where it's getting the best return? And hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, other questions? So, and that's such a great question, and I think a lot of agents struggle with that. And that as realtors, we tend to look at it from what I call that rational, logical perspective. We think it's about knowledge and education. But what I found is that if you look inside of yourself and you say, okay, what do people, my friends, the people that are not my clients, but my really friends, what do they like about my personality? Then you look at what you're passionate about. What areas of real estate, what segments, what hobbies are you truly passionate about? And now you look at saying, how do I combine one of my natural personality traits with something I'm passionate about? That's where you're going to get a value proposition that works so much better for you. And there's no magical sort of shortcut. It's what I call that internal work of thinking it through and saying, this is who I really am. This is what is going to be the best for my passion, keep my interest. And that's going to be the answer. I mean, it's interesting. When I was working with Marguerite Guerrier up in Tacoma, when she got back into real estate, she was, 26 years old, young. And of course she was like, well, I don't have anything different. And as I started talking to her, found out, she really loved being the girl about town, hip, saw herself as being this sort of urban personality. She also did not like kids. Didn't even think, gosh, I hate putting kids in my car. They're messy, they're dirty, they're all these things. So she targeted singles and childless couples. Now, and I think that when you target something like that that's part of your personality, people instantly start to respond to it. So she targeted an urban marketplace, downtown Tacoma, and she took the 300 or the 200,000 people in Tacoma, narrowed it down to a marketplace of only 4,000 people. Now, her broker told her that that was the worst thing she could do, and yet she trusted that that was her personality and style, and it did so incredibly well. And I don't know exactly how we're getting some overlap. I don't know if another call is on top of there, but other questions. Yeah, somehow it seems like we either had somebody going on a call, or it seems like somebody else has joined our conference line, which seems very strange. So I muted it there for a second. So let me try and unmute this again, see if there's any other calls, or you can type a question into the question and answer box. So, other questions? All right, other questions? I get asked that question a lot, and there is no totally ideal size. Part of it depends upon your goals. If you have a goal of selling, 5 transactions a month, you say, well, gosh, that's 60 transactions a year. Basically, you have to divide that by your turnover rate, and you may be totally fine. And if you have a targeted group of 1,500 people, that can be an ideal farm. I have people that have farmed churches of just 1,500 people, and they've done incredibly well within that limited group. Now, if your goal is to do 20 transactions a month, you've got to have a bigger farm. So part of it depends on your own personal goals. The more focused the niche, the smaller the segment is, the more people identify with it, the better off you are. I have a gentleman in Sacramento that targets Vietnam veterans. Now, it's a finite marketplace. Now, it's geographically dispersed, but he does incredibly well because he has a common connection with each and every one of them. As a Vietnam veteran himself, he targets that particular group, and there's that incredible common bond. And I found that the more focused your bond is, the better impact it has. So hopefully that helps. Other questions? So other questions anybody has? Hopefully this has been valuable for you here this morning. Um, Let me tell you, if you need any help, we would love to be here. The reason we do these calls is to make sure that you're moving forward each and every month. So if you would like somebody from Hobbs Herder to contact you about anything, help you in anything we can, please let us know. There's a quick poll that I've just launched about this. Also, I would love it if you'd post comments about this session on my Facebook page. Send me feedback, questions at hobbsherder.com or greg.herder@hobbsherder.com. My goal in doing these coaching calls every month is just to keep you moving forward, making sure that you're making progress. So if there's anything we can do for you, please let us know. We'd love to make a difference in making sure that you're getting your results that you want to and make your real estate career exactly what you want to. So thank you guys very much for being here. Remember, if you've got a question anytime, drop me an email, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the call next month. Thank you guys very much for being here, and I hope you have a great day.